Okay, make sure everything's unmuted and we are ready. Welcome everyone. This is the first Grade Curve podcast that we're going to be recording here on Sherpa. Hopefully there's many more. It depends how many of you tune in and watch and ask. It's going to be nice and informal, with nothing too strenuous. We have Hannah here, who is an English teacher at all key stages. She's been with Sherpa for a while now. How long have you been with Sherpa for? Nice. Yeah. And we also have Ollie, who teaches maths and physics on Sherpa. Ollie, how long have you been on site for? Not that long, I don't think. Nice. Do you want to just introduce yourselves a little bit? We'll start with you, Hannah.
And yeah,
Unfortunately, sorry, you might have to do that again, just because the desktop audio wasn't picking up. So we're going to start again. Everyone heard me, but they didn't hear you. Classic. Technical issues. First live stream we've done back, but everything is now working. Just double checking. Okay. Cool. I'm not going to repeat my bit because we've already done that. But yeah, Hannah, can you introduce yourself again?
No problem. Yes. Hello, I'm Hannah. I've been teaching for nearly 8 years now. All three key stages, so 3, 4, and 5, secondary English. Yeah, I've been with Sherpa for a few months now and I've been really enjoying it. So I'm actually going to move into full-time tutoring soon. Yeah, it's all been going very well and I'm very happy to be here as well.
Nice. Ollie?
yeah, hi, I'm Ollie. I guess I've been tutoring on and off for about 10 years, probably 5 or 6 of those roughly in total. And also I've been a robotics engineer for the last 4 years. And I also kind of tutor maybe 15, 20 hours a week. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, nice. My name's James. I work at Sherpa, run some of the marketing. So everything that you see, all the silly social media posts and terrible puns, that is me. Sorry for all of that. And yeah, so this is, as I say, it's going to be the first episode of the Grade Curve podcast. Titled this one, just a conversation with tutors, just because that's what Hannah and Ollie are with us. We'll just kick it off. Hannah, what was your path into teaching? Was it something that you always wanted to do? Did you end up in it randomly? What was that experience like?
So as someone who did English at university, I spent about half of the time telling people, people saying, oh, so you want to be a teacher then? Because if you've got an English degree, that must be what you want to be. And so I spent a lot of time saying, no, and secretly thinking, yes, absolutely, I do want to be a teacher. So yeah, it's something I always wanted to do. And I didn't get into it straight away. So I went to university and then I had a few years just working different jobs and traveling around and having a nice time. And then I did a PG Dip Ed, so slightly different to a PGCE. It's very similar, only you pick up some credits towards a master's as well. So it's kind of a few more academic kind of essays and things like that. So yeah, it's something that I've always wanted to do, however much I protested and pretended I didn't, just to kind of prove people wrong, but no, I couldn't. So yeah, but I absolutely love teaching. So 8 years I've been doing it and loved every single year, definitely.
And Ollie, as a ex-robotics engineer, or if you're still doing it alongside all the tutoring, is that something that was your primary goal, or was tutoring something on the side and then you're sort of picking it up a bit more? How was that all set up in your life?
Yeah, it's all been like bits and pieces really. So I mean, I started tutoring back when I was doing like A-levels maths and physics. I was tutoring the AS levels and GCSE, and then when I got to university, I was tutoring A-level and GCSE, and then a bit of university subjects as well. And then I did full-time tutoring after I finished for a year. Then went traveling, and then got a real job doing robotics. And then I actually left that last year to kind of do full-time tutoring again. And also kind of partly start up my own company So at the moment I do roughly 20 hours a week tutoring and then a bit of my own stuff on the side. So yeah, it's kind of all sorts, and I may actually be starting another robotics job in September, but obviously I want to keep doing tutoring in the evenings, because I just love tutoring. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
How did you find that balance? Obviously, I'm taking a wild punt here, but I think it'll be pretty accurate. I can imagine that robotics engineering is quite demanding. How did you find that balance when you're tutoring as well?
Yeah, it was tricky. I mean, for the first couple of years, because I was having to commute into the office, I couldn't really do much tutoring. I was doing 2 or 3 hours a week. Then obviously when everything happened with the world, I was working from home, so I had an extra like 2.5 hours every day basically when I wasn't commuting. So I was able to pick up a few extra hours tutoring then. And then I kind of realized actually I do really like tutoring again. And when work said you've got to come back in full time, I was like, I'd much rather just stick doing tutoring for now. It's kind of, it is tricky to find the balance. I couldn't do full-time commuting and tutoring, I think. But working from home makes it much easier.
And Hannah, I know you're coming to the end of your time working in a school to take up tutoring full time. How did you find that as a teacher, sort of balancing it, going from teaching in the day to then teaching in the evenings? What was that like?
It was difficult to fit it all in, but that was kind of self-inflicted because I initially started off tutoring as just like a little extra. But then I found that I was enjoying it so much that I couldn't say no when I got more invites to, have introductions and things like that. But actually, it didn't take long to readjust. So it's difficult to fit in the time. But I think because I enjoy the tutoring so much, it is that kind of that one-to-one teaching is really just nice and quite special because you really get to know those students really well and everything is targeted towards them. So it didn't really feel like an additional job. I know that sounds cheesy, but it didn't. It doesn't rather, because it is just I don't know. They're just two separate things for me now. So no, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be to keep going. And I think as well because I started off with a few and then built up, kind of gradually building up was a good idea as well because you just readjust as you go. But yeah, I'm excited to kind of commit to it full time because, like I said, I really do enjoy it.
You alluded there to your introductions. How do they normally go? Is it very structured? Are you very rigid when you're there? You have a plan for every single student, or is it very much a relaxed kind of atmosphere?
I think it's quite relaxed. I have a list of questions that I need. I want to make sure that I've got all the information that I need. But generally, it's just more of a conversation, and I'll just make notes as we go along. But it's a nice opportunity to get to know. Because often the student is there, it's not just a parent. Get to know the student a bit and they can kind of get a feel for you as well. Because I think it's that with tutoring, you want it to be a collaboration. You need to make sure that you are, a good fit. So I think the more informal, the better, because you get the better feel for what the other person is like. I have a list of questions, but how I go through them is more through the conversation rather than just saying, right, I've got a list of questions to ask you now and making it more formal in that way. So quite laid back.
Ollie, do you run through any practice questions in your introductions, or is it very much just a getting to know?
It's pretty informal. I generally just try and gauge why they want tutoring in the first place. If they are really passionate about physics and they want to go to university and excel and do all sorts, or if they absolutely hate it and they just want to get the C and be done with it. So obviously it's going to massively change how the lesson's going to be structured and how we're going to approach things. And I'll generally try and gauge where they're at the moment, not just if they're passionate or not. Some people are really passionate about it, but they struggle at the same time. So I've generally asked if they've done any tests or exams recently and how they've gone, just so again we kind of get like a rough idea of like what the plan going forward would be. But that's pretty much the only thing I really aim to get out of the introduction. Other than that, it's just having a chat, seeing if I think for me personally, like the lessons that I found best at school were with the teachers that I actually liked. whether or not they were the best teachers, I think I did the best in those subjects because I liked the teachers and I enjoyed the lesson. So I think 90% of it is just making sure the student actually, gets on with you and likes you, and you're kind of on roughly the same wavelength. Because if they don't like you, they're not going to listen to you basically, and just going to waste an hour every week just trying to get through to someone you're not gelling with. So most of it is just a personality thing, I think, rather than anything else.
Yeah, I fully appreciate that. It's the same with us when we're interviewing you as tutors. As I'm sure both of you can testify, we in our interviews that we do, so we interview every single tutor. It's a nice little 20-minute call. You've switched around, so it says Hannah is Ollie and Ollie is Hannah. That's great. We'll fix that in a second. But yeah, we interview every single tutor for 20 minutes, and we set them up so that they are very informal conversations. We just show you around the classroom, the whiteboard, how it all works, how you can use this classroom to its fullest extent, and also how you get contacted on the website and stuff like that. Did you find that helpful when you're first coming on? Did you find that with any other tutoring sites? We've obviously done a bit of research. Couldn't find too many that did that. Just tooting our own horn a little bit. But yeah, how did you find your onboarding experience?
Okay,
open to the floor.
Yeah, I find it really helpful, especially things like, because it was so informal, so it was very friendly. You kind of felt open to ask questions and things like that. But it was helpful as well to get that advice about how to set up a profile, because I mean, I've done very informal kind of tutoring before. So I lived abroad for a while, and so I tutored English then. But it's very different tutoring people who are kind of your own age to tutoring now. It's even different to teaching. So however qualified you are as a teacher, you need to really readjust. So actually getting the information about how to put together a profile and how to get started up in that way was really helpful for me, because I just it's a bit overwhelming to begin with. Like, what do I include in this profile? So yeah, I really found that helpful.
Same here. I think initially I completely messed up the profile, and you'd give me a couple of pointers to make some improvements. So that was definitely helpful. I think, I've signed up with a couple of other agencies just locally around Brighton as well, and they don't provide anywhere near the same kind of support. It's just, you might get a student every term or something, but you don't, there's nothing else. It's kind of a complete kind of wall between you and the people that work at the agency. So this is it's much more collaborative, I think, working on Sherpa. I feel like, James, I've known you far too well.
Yeah, I think our email chains are definitely just nice and short. I don't think we need to bother with all the formalities anymore when we're going back and forth about organising things, which is always a nice sort of stage to get to, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you had any advice for tutors that are looking to come on, what would it be? Hannah?
Ooh. Just listen to the advice that you're given, and do anything. If you want to really build up that base, just listen to all the advice that you're given by yourself and everyone else at Sherpa who is so kind to give that advice. And also I think being very clear in what you expect from students as well, because thankfully I've had a really good experience, and lots of students it has gone really well, like I said, well enough that I now want to do it full time. But yeah, I think being very, very clear in the expectations, making sure that the parents are understanding of what they will get out of these sessions. I think just kind of clarifying during those introductions or in the first few lessons what tutoring is and what you can do in a tutoring session. They're not going to be jumping up 3 grades in 2 hours. It's not going to happen. So I think just being really clear in your expectations, just as the parents would be clear with you.
I fully appreciate that. Like, I wouldn't say listen to us all the time. We obviously do as much as we do just from experience, but the best thing to do is have a look at some other tutors. they are the ones that have been there on the site, have done it, they've curated their profiles already. That's normally a lot of the advice that we give, but we obviously know also what works and what we've seen really grow profiles. So yeah, good advice that. Ollie?
Yeah, basically same advice. I think, as I said before as well, like I think it's good to try and get your personality across as well in your profile. Say some of your interests, what you like doing on the weekend and things as well. Just to, it might be that you and your student both enjoy playing basketball or something, and that's common interest. And then you can, if you're setting maths questions, you can do basketball themed maths questions. And as you know, I think as soon as you start making yourself seem more like a real human being, because at the end of the day you're having a conversation for an hour. I think most of the time students are probably going to pick the person who they think they're going to get on with the best, rather than the person with 4 PhDs. Because hopefully anyway, because I haven't got any PhDs.
Oh, PhDs just seem a little too long for me. I was there and had the option, and I thought, nope, I've been in education for too long. I'm going to go out into the real world, and I loved it. So yeah, wouldn't want to do PhDs, that's for sure. Cool. Actually, just quickly, I'll just cut in, sort of say, we do have a referral scheme as well. I know, I don't know if you two have actually made use of it or not, but I guess we can find out. We have a referral scheme for our tutors, so any tutors that are watching, if you've got colleagues or friends that also do some tutoring on other sites or privately, if you refer them to us and we onboard them, they go through the interview process and they have their profile set up on Sherpa, we will give both of you a boost up the site as a nice little thank you. So if you do have anyone that you know, let us know. Just say, hey, I've asked this person. You'll see their application come through shortly. We'll make a note of it. We'll then see their profile and then see it all through to the end. And once we're all through, then we go like that. So either of you done that? Either of you asked some tutors to come on?
I have actually. There is someone who's on the site now, but I didn't realise that I need to flag it up and tell someone that I've done it. So there is someone already on the site who I put forward, so maybe I should have a chat with you after.
Yeah, definitely have a chat with me after. Let me know, and then I can see what I can do. Ollie?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the process of convincing my girlfriend to get into tutoring. She's got a degree in economics, so she's done some English tutoring and maths tutoring in the past. So I'm twisting around to get into it. So in the coming weeks, you may get an email from me.
Nice. Okay, cool. What we'll do then is we're just going to move on to sort of the crux of what I really wanted to talk about actually with you two, and it's how you see education, or where do you see education going in the future? Obviously, the unspeakable pandemic. I don't think we can mention the word anymore. It's scary to do so, but that kind of shook things up, both in schools, out of schools. The way students are tested, all that kind of stuff. How do you see it going, or where do you see it going? So do you see academies becoming one of the biggest things? My old school, the last year I was there, it became an academy, and it was just the one school. And I found out the other day that it's now an academy with 5 schools in it. I'm not going to give away my age, actually. In a short few years, let's say, it's expanded pretty rapidly. And then obviously, there's platforms like us. We've got our own online classroom. Lots of lessons are being conducted online. Do you see a scenario where there are no physical schools and everything is online? Yeah, Hannah, I know you've spoken briefly about academies to us, but do you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the academisation is going to be a big thing. My own school was a standalone academy for a long time, and it was brilliant because it was just business as usual, But yeah, I think those bigger, they call them MATs, multi-academy trusts, are going to be a big thing, and maybe more kind of, I think, well, the aim of a lot of MATs, from what I've seen and what I've heard, from teacher friends in various places, that it's all becoming very standardized. So, PowerPoint's looking the same, everyone teaching exactly the same. And hearing about things like, anyone should be able to go into a classroom, any kind of cover teacher or any teacher of any subject, and they should be able to teach what you can teach, which makes me very uneasy, because I don't think that's how I'd like it to be. I think the academies is going to be a big thing carrying on going forward. And I hope that's not the same. I know that there are some academy trusts who have great reputations for being very nurturing, and just nice places to work and nice places to learn. Unfortunately, I don't think all academies are like that. I know that lots are very data driven. I find it very sad having to look at certain spreadsheets full of numbers next to students who I know and care about, and see that lots of people above me don't care about anything else that's going on in that student's life, just the numbers. So yeah, I think that's something that I hope doesn't happen. It all goes data driven and in that kind of standard kind of way in every single school. And I hope we get more of those academies that are nurturing and just nice environments for staff and students. Yeah, that's probably that's what I see being the biggest thing.
Yeah, academies are sort of taking over at the moment, aren't they? I think one of the big things about them, and I was told at my school, is it just opens up more budget, and they can change the curriculum. That was why they were initially brought in, to help out in that way. But it does seem like they're going almost a little too far. Do you think there needs to be any regulation or a bit more regulation on them, of what they can do in terms of curriculum changes? I know there's a lot of academies out there that are almost completely wiping the slate clean of the curriculum, and then building their own. Do you still think there needs to be set line across all schools, whether that's public, private, academies, trusts, whatever it may be? Do you think there still needs to be a set line through them all?
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is really. It's kind of, I know that when academies were first kind of being pushed, one of the big concerns was that they were being turned into little businesses because, like you said, it's to do with budget and things like that. And I know that lots of schools, their governors aren't really connected to the school, they're accountants and things like that. And obviously, budget is important and you need to be careful how you spend the budget on that kind of stuff. But then you hear of schools who, run out of paper or can't afford to do this for the students, do that for the students. And you think, well, if you're saving money, then shouldn't it be going towards the students? Why isn't it going in that direction? And I think it's one of those things that if I'd have only heard about it from a few teachers, then I would have thought then that's a small issue. But actually, because you hear about it from so many people, you think this is quite a worrying pattern that maybe it is kind of going that way. So I don't really know what the answer is, apart from maybe not having everyone be in an academy. I don't see why it has to be everyone is part of an academy trust. But yeah, I'm just a lowly teacher, so what do I know? Yeah.
Olia, you've kind of been almost looking in on the outside, with all your private tuition and stuff like that, not being in the school environment. What's it been like for you being in education but not in the real centre of it? Have you seen any changes over the last couple of years that have sort of made you think, oh, okay, so this is where we're going?
Well, I've certainly seen a much bigger divide in the where students are at in their education. I've actually just been speaking with people from the national tutoring program, which I think was actually set up, because of this issue, right? Because there are so many struggling students now who didn't get any real education for like over a year. And now basically they all need help. So I think there's going to be a lot more collaboration between private tutors and the state education system, which I think it's great, because there are lots of people like me and Sarah who don't necessarily want to be teachers or want to be teachers anymore full time, but who love teaching. And I think being able to get those people into the schools is, it's going to help so many disadvantaged kids who, we didn't really have this same issue like a couple of years ago, I don't think. I mean, obviously the issue is always there, but it's so much more exacerbated now. So yeah, I think definitely more kind of collaboration between like private and public is hopefully the way things are going. I think also that, even with like kids that have gone to private schools, I've got I think 3 or 4 at the moment that I see each week, and they're struggling just as much as the kids at the local state schools. So it's like a kind of worldwide problem, it seems. That's.
Are there any changes to the curriculum that you think you'd make to almost help students catch up in maybe those core subjects? Is there a little bit of shuffling you think that people can do?
Obviously, I'm biased, so I would say more maths and physics. Definitely needs more maths and physics. I would say, I mean, I think there needs to be more of a focus on getting everyone up to like, a C grade or like a grade 5, because there, I'm seeing students now that are just about to enter year 10, and they still can't do like short multiplication, which they should have learned at the beginning of year 8 or year 7. So I think there needs to be, it sounds a bit miserable, but I guess more bridge the gap between each year. So, maybe kids don't have like 6 full weeks off. Maybe they do an hour a week just on the core subjects of like maths and English, maybe. Because it just doesn't seem like we're gonna really get out of this. I've had kids starting AS levels last year, and the first like 4 weeks was just GCSE topics, because they're all coming from different schools, and they all had studied, they missed out large chunks of the curriculum basically, so they all had to get back up to scratch again in time just to be able to do the AS level. So I think that it's unfortunate, but there probably does need to be some of the lessons that the kids hadn't done over the last couple of years needs to be brought back. And but no one likes to do maths over summer, so it's a tricky one.
Unless it's counting how many ice creams we eat in 40-degree weather.
Yeah.
Cool. And do you think, I know it might be a little bit contentious, but do you think there's an argument for, if we're going this way in terms of people are struggling, is there an argument to be made for specialising earlier? So if students are struggling with, I don't know, let's say they're really good with maths and physics, but they are struggling on the English front, maybe. Do you think there is a case for them specialising in those subjects, putting more time and effort into maths and physics, and just having basic English skills? Or do you think it's important for everyone to have a wide range like it is at the moment?
It's difficult, I think, because it's one of those, I think, being in a school and seeing the impacts of being very target driven and seeing how much anxiety is in students at the moment, and how they really feel the pressure from everyone and everywhere. They keep being told, you've missed out on teacher, you've missed out on learning for 2 years, you're going to feel the impact of this for years and years, and it's really, really stressful. I think that if there's a way of kind of specialising in the kind of nurturing way, not in a right, you're going to stay after school for an extra hour this week and you're going to do just English, I think that just drains any joy out of learning. And I know that school isn't fun, it's not all fun and games, but it's isn't it supposed to be at least interesting and helpful? So I think if there is a way of specialising earlier in a way that is more about intervention and nurturing and not about almost using it as a spur to get them to move up quicker, then I think there's definitely an argument for it. I know that lots of schools are very good at doing things like that. So for example, I know that some students who really struggle get taken out of languages, which is a real shame for languages, because I think language is really important and it's a wonderful thing to have and to know. But yeah, if they kind of, obviously maths and English are those core subjects that basically any job they go for, those are the qualifications they're going to be looking for. So there are ways and means. I think if it's done with kindness, then that would be a really good idea. Just, yeah, hopefully to relieve a bit that anxiety, because it's a real big problem at the moment in school. The number of students who have had real significant issues with anxiety in the last few years has just been unbelievable, and just really sad, because yeah, all they need is a bit of support, not being, beaten with target grades all the time. So yeah, there is an argument for it, I think.
There is definitely that sort of the added pressure of it seems to me anyway that as you're sort of going through school year, everything is gearing up towards effectively 3 years of your life. You're gearing up towards your GCSEs, and then once you've done your GCSEs, you're gearing up to your A levels. So every time that you're in a class, even if you're in year seven, the teacher will probably allude to, you need to make sure that you're well versed in this and you've got the foundations of this topic, because it will set the basis for this topic that you'll be doing in a couple of years' time. And so from a very early age, you are basically geared towards, okay, these 3 years, this is almost make it or break it, which it's not. From personal experience, I did not do amazingly in my exam, but I also didn't do terribly. I was very average, middle of the road, and even I felt like, wow, what do I do here? I didn't get an A star in maths. Does that mean I now can't do anything maths related in the future? So yeah, I can understand the anxiety really sort of picking up in the last few years, especially I would assume now, going from teacher grades to back into exams. Those students haven't had as much practice sitting in an exam hall, getting used to the feeling. It's a really, really weird feeling, sitting in an exam hall when you've got hundreds of people around you, tapping of the pens. You've always got one invigilator that walks around in high heels as well, tapping really loudly, which was never enjoyable. And then you've got the people that are coughing at the back, which obviously now after the pandemic, is everyone freaks out, especially in the exam hall. But yeah, I can understand the whole anxiety play. We'll end on a little bit of a lighter note. So the last little thing I just wanted to ask, there's been talk recently of school trips, and going to museums, things like that, not being beneficial to students in terms of the actual grades that they get. I want to just be nice and fun for this. So, Ollie, what was your, do you have a memory of a school trip that you think back on fondly?
Yeah, there are a couple, I guess. I mean, even the really crap ones, I still remember them. Right, we went to some like lonely beach called Cookmere Haven. Like, it was nothing there but fields and a bit of pebbles, in like year 8. But I still remember that trip, and I think that you can't really put value on that. You can't really quantify that. It's just, it's a nice memory. I think most people probably remember that trip. And then, obviously there are, the other ones, you got like ski trips and things, which I think are, super invaluable. I made so many friends with people in my year that I wouldn't have otherwise probably made friends with. Which again, it's when you start trying to quantify that, it's just impossible to say. I think, you can never replace a good school trip. I think, even if it's just to the local beach or something.
Yeah, I agree. I went to, during my A-levels biology, ended up going to Wales, spending, I think it was about a week at the beach, going crabbing, having a look at some rocks, that kind of stuff. As you can probably tell, I don't remember much of the actual education, and I did not take biology any further, but I do remember that trip, just because it was really good. We definitely bonded more with our teachers as well, and I think that's a really important thing. You're in this environment where you're sat on a beach, your teacher is there, you have a conversation about whatever's around you. and you actually get to know your teacher as a person instead of someone that stands in the class, and then as you go home they kind of disappear from reality, and then you think, okay, when I'm back in school they kind of pop up in the class and that's who they are. So Hannah, have you got any school trips that stand out?
Oh yeah, loads. Yeah, I think I completely agree with both of you. Yeah, it's not about the grades, it's about those memories, and also you do get a lot out of them. I mean, my favourite one was we went to Germany for 5 days, and yeah, learning how to function in a foreign country, trying to find your way around, independence, and yeah, getting to know people really well. So yeah, no, Germany was a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of things, a lot of experiences that I think a lot of students might not have if they hadn't have gone on that school trip, and actually kind of, I started taking German more seriously after I went and figured out I couldn't function in Germany without my basic German skills. So yeah, it got me more interested in languages, and it got me interested as well in traveling a bit more. And it's only down the road, it's only Germany, but it was a reminder that there was lots of things in the world that I would like to see and enjoy. So yeah, it was completely, yeah, you can't put a grade on it, but I definitely got a lot out of it. And Germany's beautiful, it's lovely. So
Yeah, I've never
yeah.
been. It's one of those places that I do want to go. Germany does seem like one of those nice places that it's got a bit of everything as well. So,
Yeah.
nice. Cool. I think that's pretty much everything. Unless you guys have any questions you'd like to ask me. I'll take the stunned silence as no. Which means everything is absolutely perfect. Great. That's always a good sign. To anyone watching this at the moment, I see we haven't got any questions through, but I can see that there are a couple of viewers watching, so be sneaky, maybe ask a question or two. But if not, that's absolutely fine. We've just got a couple of things that I just want to announce. So we're going to be at Maidenhead Festival this weekend as a team. We're going to be there for both days, so Saturday and Sunday. So if you are looking for tuition, you want to learn a bit more about us and what we do, come and say hi. We don't bite, we're friendly. We're going to be running a quiz as well, and the people with the most prizes could win some excellent merchandise that we've just brought in. Great for getting back to school. We're running that. We're also going to be running a physical game while we're there, and highest points wins. So it's always good, a little bit of friendly competition. Come and have a chat with us both days, Saturday and Sunday at Maidenhead Festival. Hopefully see a couple of you there. And then lastly, we do have a Q&A forum. So I know Hannah has actually just recently spam answered tons of questions. And so for any tutors out there watching, it's one of the best things that you can do to actually increase your profiles. Go onto our Q&A forum, answer some questions. Doesn't matter if it's been answered before, throw your hat in the ring. It will appear on your profile right at the bottom. So when students come across it, they can have a look at, okay, this is a very basic question. I'm going to, I'd like to see a really detailed answer from a very basic question. Wow, Hannah, as an example, has done that. I'm really want a tuition session with her. It's one of the quickest and easiest ways that we can do it. And it also helps out because the more answers that we get on the forum, the more visible it is to students. Obviously, more students come on and ask questions, and it really is that kind of revolving door. So any tutors out there that are currently watching, that's one of the biggest things that I'd say to help out your profile. Okay. Well, I think we're going to end the episode there. Thank you, you two, for taking part. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get you back on another one at some point. This has been The Grade Curve. Thank you, Ollie. Thank you, Hannah. And we'll see you all soon.
Cheers, James.
Thank you very much.